Well, in the show, we've been talking about the Documenta art gathering. Now we're going to talk about photography. Steve Schapiro has taken some of the best-known photographs of our era. He seems to have everyone on camera: Andy Warhol, Muhammad Ali, countless Hollywood stars. But before he earned fame for his portrait of celebrities, Schapiro documented the U.S. Civil Rights Movement with up-close and personal photos of activists and leaders. These images are now on display here in Berlin. And I'm very pleased to welcome right now the photographer himself, Steve Schapiro. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
It's great to see you. Good morning. Tell us about your exhibit here in Berlin. What's it all about?
The exhibit at the CWC Gallery is really about civil rights in America. I photographed from 1963 to 68 in a period which in some ways is like America today.
Okay, and you have a book coming out on this too, don't you?
I have a book coming out which
It's called The Fire Next Time.
Yes, it's based on James Baldwin's essay, The Fire Next Time, and has the text of that and about 125 of my pictures. But the picture I like the most is this woman from that time period saying, "Stop police killings," which has a really importance in America.
Are some of those on view in Berlin right now?
Yeah.
They are. Okay. Now, you've said that today's America is just like the era in your book, The Fire Next Time, 1963 to 1968. Would you like to elaborate on that? How so?
What's happened is we've just had a revival of that. In 1963, it was really a movement against violence and basically a church-motivated grouping. Today, we have problems in America, and I think a lot of us are unhappy with what the government is doing. I think we feel that the whole liberal side of America is being lost in many ways, and it's a strange period of time, and it echoes some of that from 1965.
You were telling me that the left in America has collapsed. What happened?
What happened basically is that we had an election and we didn't have a good candidate on the Democratic side, and everyone had expected that Trump was not going to be elected, and everyone took pause at that. And the result is a situation where things are changing, and you know, our whole television system is possibly going down the drain in terms of public television.
The funding could be cut, right?
In terms of things involving with the humanities, things like giving food to people who really can't afford anything. You know, a lot of those programs are just collapsing at this point. And I hope not, but it's happening.
Steve, when you go out into the streets of America today and take photography and do photography and take photos, do you see things that remind you of that era in the 60s that you so closely covered, specific images?
I think there's specific images, but they're in certain spots. And what you had was in the 1960s, you had a widespread attitude because you had people who had grown up with a segregationist idea from childhood, and you had people with a liberal idea from childhood, and you had a situation where blacks were really not getting the vote. And the 60s was about getting the vote. Today, it's really about getting a police force which doesn't have a few people in it who really have a violent nature.
When you look at America today, this has been one of the criticisms, certainly, of the aftermath or the results of the Obama era, that America is more divided than it was in the 60s. Do you share that sentiment?
I definitely share it, and I also have a great fear in terms of where we're going to right now, quite frankly.
Okay, now, you, of course, have done a lot with the Civil Rights Movement. You've also done a lot of celebrities: Jodie Foster, Robert Redford, Marlon Brando, as well as ordinary people. What's the difference for you when you go out and you take pictures of civil rights activists and celebrities? Are those worlds very different? There's hardly any difference.
I mean, what you're going after is the spirit of a person. You're looking for a moment where something reveals who they are, or you're dealing with an event and you're trying to reveal what that event is about. And you're trying to do it with a good picture, hopefully an iconic picture which really shows you what's happening. You don't want to do a picture of someone just sitting there like that.
Right.
That's nothing. What you want to do is get their spirit, and that's what I'm after.
How do you get their spirit? Do you wait for it to appear? Do you have something that you do to get people to reveal their innermost selves? How does that happen?
If it's not a cover for a magazine where sometimes I have to make bird noises to get someone to smile, it's really a question of just being a fly on the wall and waiting for that moment when you really sense something in someone's eyes and something in their demeanor or the background or something that really tells you what they're about.
So you really need to be a communicator, don't you? You need to strike a chord with people.
You have to be a silent communicator, because if I talk to someone, they're not really themselves. They're just dealing with me, and half the pictures will be with their mouth open.
You know, a great number of your pictures are in black and white. How do you decide this picture is going to be color, this picture is going to be black and white? For instance, you took some pictures of David Bowie in black and white and in color.
I think emotional pictures are most relevant, work the best in black and white. You get a sense of that. If you're taking a picture and there's an emotional experience between two people and someone in a red jacket comes between them, your eye's going to go right to that, and you're going to miss the emotional moment that I'm trying to get.
Okay, how do you recognize when an emotional moment's about to occur? I mean, you must have incredible antenna and sensitivity.
By being very quiet.
Okay.
And just waiting and just really being attentive to what's happening and waiting for that great moment, which all photographers wait for.
What does the future hold for you, briefly, if you could?
I'm very into the situation in Chicago. I live in Chicago. There's a particular man, Father Flager, who I think really has the same genes as Martin Luther King and the same spirit. And I'm interested in changing America in the way that we can, back to a normalcy and something which is good for all people and not just very rich people.
And bringing people together.
Across
the divides that are so many.
Yes.
Steve Schapiro, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.